How can you graph a point with rational coordinates on a coordinate plane? Think about this question during the lesson. A coordinate plane is a grid containing two number lines that intersect in a right angle at 0. The number lines, called the x and y axes, divide the plane into 4 quadrants. Extend what you know about grids to the coordinate plane. How is this coordinate plane different from coordinate planes you have seen before? This coordinate plane includes negative integer values to make 4 quadrants instead of just 1. Which axis is horizontal? Which axis is vertical? The x-axis is horizontal. The y-axis is vertical. How can you graph and label points on a coordinate plane? An ordered pair, x, y, of numbers gives the coordinates that locate a point relative to each axis. Graph the points q, 2, -3, r, -1, 1, and s, 0, 2, on a coordinate plane. To graph any point P with coordinates x, y, start at the origin 0, 0. Use the x-coordinate to move right if positive or left if negative along the x-axis. Then use the y-coordinate of the point to move up if positive or down if negative following the y-axis. Draw a point on the coordinate plane and label the point. Now let's graph point R, -1, 1. What is the x-coordinate of point R? What is the y-coordinate of point R? Describe how to graph point R on the coordinate plane. The x-coordinate is -1. The y-coordinate is 1. To graph point R, you start at the origin and move 1 unit left, then 1 unit up. In which quadrant is point R located?
Select your answer.
Point R is located in quadrant 2. For point S, 0, 2, the x-coordinate is 0. How would you plot point S? To plot point S, start at the origin, but do not move left or right. Then move up 2 units on the y-axis. Now you know how you can graph a point on a coordinate plane.
Describe how to graph the point P, -2, -3 on the coordinate plane.
Start at the origin, right in the middle, which is 0 and 0. The x-coordinate is negative, so move blank units to the left. So x is -2. So -2 is going to be on the x-axis. This is our x-axis here. I'm going to go to my left, and that's going to be 2 units to the left because it's -2. So 1, 2. And then it says use the y-coordinate to move blank units down. That's -3. So my y goes down. So I'm going to move from here 3 spaces down because it's negative. So 1, 2, 3. And put 3 there. And so we're going to draw and label the point. So I did put a point there, and I'm going to label it P. That's what they told us to label it. So that point there is labeled P. Just an FYI, when you are graphing these lines used to help you identify the point do not need to be there, and sometimes can be confusing once we get later into graphing. Just having the point there is all that is necessary.
Graph the point P, -2, -3 on the coordinate plane.
So I'm not going to use all of these tools. Well, let's see. So -2 and -3, we just graphed it, but we're going to use these tools. So this coordinate plane is in increments of 5. So that does not mean that -2 and 3 are not on the number line. That means that they are these points in between. So this would be 0 in the middle. The next line here is -1, -2, -3, -4, and so on. So -2 on the x will be 1, 2, will be here, and then -3 goes down. So we go down 3, so 1, 2, and then 3. So I'm going to put my point here. That's going to be my point for -3. So that's all they asked us to do, was to graph it.
A grid map of Washington, D.C. is shown at the right. What are the coordinates of the location of the Jefferson Memorial?
So each grid line represents 1 unit. So we have to drag the point. So the point is right here in the middle. And it says drag it to follow the grid lines directed to the x-axis and to find the x coordinate 0 and 5/10. So again, as I mentioned before, even though you don't see the numbers there, that does not mean that they are not there. So if from here to here is -1, that means in between are those decimals here. So 0.5 we should know is like 50 cents, so like half, right? So halfway between here and here is about here, because it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So half of 4 is 2. So the halfway mark will be about here. So this would be my x-axis, or x-coordinate rather. And then I need to find my y. So y is -1 and 75/100. And I just realized that that's not negative. So I need to go the other direction to find my 0.5. And it's about here. So that's 0 and 5/10 on the positive side, because that is not a negative. But my y is negative. So I'm going to go down because that's where my negative numbers are. And so the -1 represents a whole. So I'm going to go at least, it moves real easily, here. That's 1. And then I have to move this decimal. Now 0.75 is like saying 3/4 out of 4 quarters, right? So that's 3/4 of the way. And we know there's 4 units in between each whole number. So I'm going to go down 3 units, which is about here. This is very sensitive. Okay, right there. And thankfully it tells us the exact coordinates here once you're moving it around. And that is exactly what we're supposed to have. And we are at Jefferson Memorial. On the map, what landmark is located at 2 1/4? So we're going to look at the first number, which is our x-axis. Let me choose a different color. Red. And so 2 is positive. So we're going to go 1, 2. Oh, sorry. I need to look at my numbers. Here's 0, but here's my 1. And then here's 2. So I have to go all the way to 2. So that's where 2 is. Now it's a positive 1/4. So in between each unit is 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I only am moving one of the 4 spaces, that means I'm only going to go up 1 space. So what landmark are we located at? The FBI building.
How are points N, P, and Q related to point M? Point M has an x-coordinate of 3 and a y-coordinate of 2. It is located in the first quadrant. Point N has an x-coordinate of -3 and a y-coordinate of 2. It is located in the second quadrant. A reflection is a mirror image across a line. Points M and N differ only in the sign of the x-coordinate. They are reflections of each other across the y-axis. Point P has an x-coordinate of 3 and a y-coordinate of -2. It is located in the fourth quadrant. Points M and P differ only in the sign of the y-coordinate. They are reflections of each other across the x-axis. Point Q has an x-coordinate of -3 and a y-coordinate of -2. It is located in the third quadrant. Points M and Q differ in the signs of both coordinates. They are reflections of each other across both axes. Are point P and point Q reflections of each other? Are point N and point Q reflections of each other?
Part A. The coordinates of point A are -3, 5. What are the coordinates of point B, which is a reflection of point A across the x-axis?
First, we need to graph point A. So -3 is on our x-axis, so it'll be here to the left. +5 will be on our y-axis up here. So let me put my point. So -3 would be 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to move up to 5. So it'll be there. So now that is point A. Now it's asking for the reflection of point A across the x-axis. So the x-axis is the horizontal line. So if I'm reflecting across that line, that means my point needs to be on this side of the line. So the reflection would be, instead of -3, +5, the x-axis stays the same at -3, but now my y changes to -5. So now my answer would be -3 and -5. Now they're asking us to find the coordinates for point F and the coordinates of point G, and which axis is the line of reflection. So let's graph them. So we have +8, -2. +8 will be on this side of my x-axis, and -2 will be on the bottom of the y. So we had 8, right? So 6, 7, 8. Let me get my point. All right, so 6, 7, 8, and then -2. So 1, 2. So that is point F. G is -8 and -2. So we have -8, which would be on this side. So that's 6, 7, 8. And then we have -2, which is here, right? Right. All right, so it's asking, now that we graphed them, what is the point of reflection or line of reflection? So the point is going across which line? That is our y-axis. So it's a reflection across the y-axis.